Welcome to Štip. Štip, a city of around 45,000 people, center of Macedonia's fashion industry, and home to the sole public university of Eastern North Macedonia, the Goats at Delčevo University. But I didn't take you up this hill for this view. Of course not. Came up here for this. Partizan's Necropolis. Completed 1974 after 5 years of work by one of my favorite artists, Yugoslav Spomenik rock star Bodan Bodanovic. The Partizan Necropolis here at Štip commemorates the fallen Partizan soldiers and civilians from this area who perished during Axis occupation and the city's liberation during World War II. After the Kingdom of Yugoslavia was invaded in April 1941, the region of present-day Macedonia was divided into two regions. And this region here, Vardar Macedonia, was occupied and administered mostly by the Bulgarian army. The pre-war population of Štip was around 18,000 people. And during the course of the war, 9,000 citizens were killed. 800 of those died while fighting the Axis forces in defense of the city. There are remains of an old fortress up here. Let's check that out real quick. It's about 100 degrees Fahrenheit today. Not a great day to be hiking up a hill. Yeah, I saw this in the news. It's a big fire. And at the very top, a giant rusty cross. Okay, let's go down to the city, see what's going on. Štip was finally liberated by the Macedonian People's Liberation Army, November 8th, 1944. Here's what 20 euros a night can get you in Štip. Now for a walk about the hood. Kadın Ada Mosque, left over from Ottoman times. It's about 1,000 Turks in town. This is a medical center completed during Yugoslav times. Oh, and if you didn't believe me, take a look at this mosaic. That is Yugoslav. At the center of the mosaic, a male worker in overalls, his arm raised triumphantly. Look, next to the medical center, hidden by these bushes, another Spomenik. The left plaque says something about the Bulgarian fascist police carrying out a blockade on August 17th, 1943, and there was a national hero who succumbed to his wounds. And at the bottom it says, with gratitude, the medical center. And the stone on the right says something about July 28th, 1941, a local committee was formed, something about armed resistance and for Comrade Tito. And the date here is August 17th, 1983. So I guess that's when the Spomenik was unveiled. The landlady said to cut through this building here to get to a street of coffee shops. I don't know. I'm not buying it. Maybe by coffee shops she meant casinos, betting houses. You see that? They're calling it the St. Elijah Mosque. It was built, they think, maybe around the 1500s on top of the ruins of a church, St. Elijah, that maybe was built around the 1200s. Some communist artwork up there, maybe? Yugoslav bench, perhaps? A statue of Alexander the Great, and the plaque below says, Alexander the Great Macedonian. A little something for the Greeks. So this is the main city square, complete with the Alexander the Great statue. And one of the most important buildings in the main square, the city post office. Walking through one of the buildings from the main square, we have the Bezistan, an old Ottoman covered market. Now I think it's an art museum. It's 4:30. Let's get some coffee and grab some breakfast. Well, that cold cappuccino wasn't as good as the Freddo cappuccino in Greece, but price makes up for it. $1.50 as opposed to $5.50 in Greece. Hotel Oaza, 1974. Very Yugo-esque looking, isn't it? Let's check inside real quick. You know what you're supposed to eat here in Štip? Pastramalia. You remember it. You remember it when I was in Veles. You're supposed to eat it in Veles as well. Let's find out which city does it better. Štip is better than Veles. Walking down Marshal Tito Quay for a bit. Quay is kind of like what they call a road next to a river or a stream. And on Marshal Tito Quay, protected by bird and dog shit, is this memorial to deported Jews, completed in 1985. It was March 1943 that the Bulgarian fascists rounded up 561 Jews in Štip and deported them to the concentration camp in Treblinka, modern-day Poland, where they were killed. All right, gotta run up to the Ottoman clock tower before there's no more light of day. The sun's already past the mountain. The Macedonian Orthodox Church of St. Nicholas, built 1876, on a site inhabited by an earlier church from 1341. House of Culture. There's the fort we climbed earlier, top of the hill. Here it is, the Ottoman clock tower. I don't see a clock. Let's call it a watchtower. And there's a story behind this one. Long ago, a Turkish bey fell in love with a beautiful girl from Štip named Anka. He wanted to marry her. He wanted her to become Muslim, become Turkish. She kept refusing. This went on for some time. And then finally, to dissuade him, she said, I want you to build something for the town, and then I'll be with you, like a clock tower. And of course, the Turkish bey immediately built the tower, 1650. And then he had his way with the beautiful Anka, and she did become Muslim. I've been trying to get to the other side of the clock tower, and I guess this is as good as it gets. You know, all these buildings are attached to it, all of these residences. You can make out Bodanovic's partisan necropolis up there. Well, my phone's at 7%, and the sun's pretty much gone anyway. This is a student town, and I'm gonna party with the students. Sorry I can't take you with me. See you tomorrow. So it's goodbye Štip. Today gonna Spomenik hop it, about 2.5, 3 hours to get to a town called Delčevo. It's on the border with Bulgaria. First stop, the village of Zrnovci. And here's a fallen fighters monument, dedicated to partisans who fought and fell during World War II. Probably from the 60s or 70s. This Spomenik consists of 3 hollow star shapes, roughly 1 meter wide. Heading to another village now, called Blatec. Here you go. Monument to Fallen Fighters, 1981. This Spomenik commemorates the partisan fighters and civilian victims of the People's Liberation Struggle, 1941 to 1945. And it is said to resemble a swan. And you can see on both sides, swans. Today's a mountainous drive, and the town we're ending up in tonight, that's a mountain town. In the village of Mitrašinci. And from the road, there was no indication that there would be an abandoned Spomenik up here, surrounded by the pine trees. Probably not the best idea to be at the highest point around during a lightning storm. But for you, I take these risks. And what do you do for me? What do you do for me? So this Spomenik is 10 meters tall. It's a monument to the 50th Macedonian Partisan Division, completed 1974 by artist Radovan Rajenović. It commemorates the 30th anniversary of the formation of the 50th Partisan Resistance Unit up in the hills here, near the village. You know, once the Bulgarians switched sides at the end of the war in 1944 and were no longer brutally stamping out uprisings, the 50th Macedonian unit became one of the most significant and successful domestic units in freeing the wider Vardar Macedonia region from Axis forces. They chased the Germans from Strumica, from Kočani, we'll visit there tomorrow, Štip, Tetovo, Skopje, all places I've taken you to. And some of the fighters continue chasing them even further north, engaging the Germans at Stromski Front and Zagreb. By the way, how do I know all of this? Spomeniks database, check it out. There it is. The sun shines down upon Delčevo. And here's what 24 euros can get you in Delčevo. How'd they know? The bathroom. And now for the view. All right, it stopped raining. Let me show you the reason we're here. Here it is. It's a memorial cultural center, the Spomendom Asnom. It commemorates the 1944 Anti-Fascist Assembly for the National Liberation of Macedonia. Let's circle around it. There's a restaurant in the building called Antika. Mosque sighting. I read that there are around 700 Muslim, Turks, and Roma here. Coming up to the front of the building now. Go inside? Yeah. Hvala. The guard inside said he remembers them building this in 1974, 1975. He didn't know who the architect was, though. Stork's Nest sighting. Another restaurant. Vigor. And a casino, of course. It's 4 o'clock. Let's go for breakfast at Antika. Unless it's closed. Okay. We'll wander the streets and see what we find. I am hungry. At the risk of stating the obvious, this town, Delčevo, was named after Goce Delčev. You saw the Spomeniks Strumica put up in his honor. He was the Bulgarian who was leading the fight against the Ottoman Empire for the freedom of Macedonia, the region of Macedonia. That includes Greece and Bulgaria and the part we're in now. Let's try this restaurant, Monopolo. Waiter said pljeskavica is what they do best here. Well, if that's what they do best, I'd hate to try what they do second best. Farewell, Delčevo. Today doing another 2.5-3 hour Spomenik hop, and we'll end up further north in a town called Kriva Palanka. I've been doing a pretty good job of hiding this, but Macedonians love throwing trash out in nature. So here's a view of the 14-kilometer long Kalimansi Lake, which looks pretty dry on this end. Driving through Makedonska Kamenica right now. Beautiful mountain town. All right, we got 30 minutes till we reach the town of Kočani. That'll be our first Spomeniks stop of the day. Hello, Kočani. Spomenik to Nikoliќ. And you know that name because you've seen part 8C of my Yugoslav Spomenik series when I took you to Kruševo. Nikolić led the failed Ilindin uprising against the Ottomans in Kruševo in 1903. And when Kruševo and Kočani became twin cities in 1968, to mark the occasion, the city erected this statue in the center of town, in Revolution Park. And it was only 8 kilometers west of here that Karev was ultimately killed by the Ottomans in 1905. But the statue of Nikolić is not why we're in Kočani. Let's go. Welcomed by a donkey to Gligor Chemerski's and Radovan Rođenović's Freedom Monument, unveiled in 1981. Wow. You're looking at a total of 335 square meters of mosaic on concrete walls, both sides, commemorating the historical struggles of the Macedonian people, starting from the Ilindin uprising against the Ottomans in 1903 through the events of World War II. Incredible views of Kočani from this monument. You can see they're doing some restoration work here. That's good. Okay, let's take a look at each panel. The top panel is called the Lady of Victory, based on the bare-breasted Minoan snake goddess from Crete and Greece. The panel below the Lady of Victory is the largest mosaic on site. It's called Freedom. And the lady dancing on the far right is reminiscent of a famous Macedonian figurine from the 6th century BC. This third mosaic depicts the 1903 Ilindin uprising against the Ottomans. It starts in the far left, the city of Kruševo, where the uprising began. You see the fighters marching forward with their meager weapons. In the center, this demonic-like character represents the Ottoman Empire. Skeleton on the right, death sown by the Ottomans, and finally 3 soldiers wearing fez hats holding severed heads because the Ottomans won. Mosaic 4 depicts a graphic battle scene from the National Liberation War, aka World War II. In Mosaic 5, a grisly scene of 9 severed heads, a depiction of those who gave up their lives fighting the Axis occupation. Mosaic 6, a pastoral landscape, just Macedonian people engaged in their daily life activities. And Mosaic 7 is the opposite of the pastoral life. It glorifies the modern age, the new electrified and scientific modern world of post-World War II. The pillar of suffering starts at the top with falling naked and contorted bodies, writhing in agony. And by the time these bodies reach the bottom of the scene, they've been transformed into a heap of skulls and bones. This mosaic symbolizes the evil the people of Macedonia were up against along their road to revolution. When darkness manifests, the Macedonians will rise. No stop till our next stop, Štip. Hello, Štip. This is the Brotherhood and Unity Park, 1986, and it commemorates the local NOB fighters who perished during World War II, as well as the miners of the nearby Delčevo mine who were killed by occupational forces. Delčevo mine is significant because on April 3rd, 1944, partisans attacked it. It was being controlled by Axis forces to supply the war effort. And after that, 100 or so miners joined the cause. Pepper's drying up there. It's a long day. Hour and a half till tonight's final destination, Kriva Palanka. Of course, if I see a Spomenik on the side of the road, gotta stop. The inscription on the front says, on April 3rd and 25th, 1944, the Macedonian Shock Brigade and the Kosovo Squad fought right here against the fascist Bulgarians. And they put it up July 3rd, 1988. Around the corner here, a damaged plaque. So we're leaving the eastern region of Macedonia now, heading into the northeastern region. So I'm gonna stop this video here and we'll pick up in part 11D in Kriva Palanka in the northeast. See you there.